Welcome back to a new week of Liberty Free to Be. I hope all is good in your world. I've had a really lovely busy few weeks since we last did an interview. I've been away in a gorgeous location in Mallorca working with a brand that I really enjoy working with, that I really love because they represent women over the age of 40 and 50 and 60. So it's a really inclusive brand, and I got to model some fantastic swimwear and lingerie. So doing a job that I love, and I feel really super grateful that that includes the podcast as well. And today's guest is no exception. Today I'm going to be talking to the fabulous Mary Jane Fahy, who is the founder and the director of Glorious Broads. If you have not heard of Glorious Broads, get yourself on social media now, because they have taken the world by storm, sharing voices from women over the age of 60, sharing their stories, asking them questions, having some really fabulous conversations, and showing the world that life does not stop as you get older, and that there are some amazing women out there doing fantastic things, living their best lives, and sharing their knowledge and their wisdom with the rest of us to follow. So I can't wait. We've got such a lot to talk about. And if you haven't already followed them, go check out Glorious Broads, because on TikTok, they've got 117,000 followers. On Instagram, they've got 240,000 followers on Instagram. So they really are taking the world by storm and doing some amazing work to break down those barriers. So let's get started. So welcome, Mary Jane. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. How are you doing?
I'm great. I mean, disgusting weather here, but I'm delighted to be here.
So you're in New York, aren't you now?
Oh, I'm in New York. Yes, it's rainy and sad, but I'm not.
Good. No, to be fair, it's the same here in Yorkshire. It's rainy. It's at the end of
Yes.
the day, but it's rainy. But we will bring some sunshine to the
Yes, let's.
day, and I really appreciate it. I'm going to be honest with the listeners and confess that I had spoken to Mary Jane last week, and I've had all sorts of technical problems, and so this is the second time Mary Jane and I have had a chat. So I really appreciate your time, and I think it's important we share those issues, because sometimes the fear of not getting things right all the time puts people off even starting, doesn't it?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And as I shared with you, one of my big interviews early on was with Penny Arcade. Those of you out there, she's just a very underground, cool girl. And after the interview, I'm thrilled silly, and I see that my someone had called me during the interview, and I lost three-quarters of the interview. And she was so kind. We did it all again. And her line was, "I love to talk. Let's do it all again."
Fabulous. Well, you were equally so generous, so thank you very much. I appreciate it. And luckily, it's all working today. So let's get started. We've got a lot to talk about. So you are the founder of Glorious Broads, and if no one's heard of it already, you need to go and check them out on Instagram and TikTok, because it's really taken off. But how do you describe it to people, and where did the inspiration even come from to start it?
Well, I describe it as a community of unapologetic and very unconventional broads who are aging, and they range from 50 to 101, and really thinking about present and next. There is no regret for the most part about the past, and bring it on. They are also I said this to you, well, last time, but they're mothers and they're wives and they're all kinds of things. I am attracted, it's true, to mostly artists, but all kinds of things. And they're what we have in common is letting go of the fear of next.
And I think from my point of view, I know I'm 53 now, and a lot of the women, most of the women that have on the podcast are in their 50s. And it's so important that we hear these voices from other women that are older than us, so that, because you're paving the way, and you're showing us what's possible. And we really need these positive stories, don't we? What kind of impact have you had from other people from the younger generation listening to these women?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, I want to say that these older women for me are mentors. Oh my God,
Mm.
they're amazing. But the younger women, I would say that the big impact we have is on TikTok. I didn't know that we would be the smash on TikTok, but these kids are coming to us just saying, "You're giving to me but what my mother and my grandmother are too maybe shy to, and I'm learning about what it might be to be old, and it might be I might be cool." Or I might be unafraid of sex, or I might be just more comfortable with it. And that was an unexpected pleasure of this. I liked the idea of it being multi-generation, but I didn't so much think about it, and it's come about in an organic way.
And the word broads is not something that in the UK we use a lot
Oh,
to
really?
describe one. Yeah. So what makes a glorious broad?
Well, I mean, I do deal with this with the older generation. When I say abroad, like when I met the 101-year-old on the streets, I do like picking them out the street. She said, broad, I think of Frank Sinatra. I think of all negative impact. And I like to think of owning that word again, and meaning owning the feistiness of it, owning the sense of I walk, I stomp in
Yeah.
life. Um, I also copped it from a show of younger women called Broad City. And Broad City, I preferred it to Sex in the City. Sex in the City in the beginning was great, but I was disappointed with them all kind of grabbing whatever man that was around, and that you need a man to be okay. And Broad City was not that. Two younger women who just stomped around town. So I love that they owned it, and I decided to push it further with the older broads.
And you have some amazing older broads on there, and they really are inspiring, and they are the kind of women that I want to be when I grow up,
Yes,
which I think is what you aim to do, isn't it? To
yes,
share
yes, yes.
stories.
That was one of my first lines. I looked at some of these broads and just thought, I want to be you when I grow up.
So when you were younger, who were the aspirations for you? Who were the inspiration for you when you were in your 20s and 30s? Who did you look up to for that kind of inspiration?
Well, I was brought up in a very matriarchal household. There were 8 women, which is crazy, and my father and my brother in a little tiny apartment in Brooklyn. We all got along. I loved I loved my older sisters, and I loved my mother and grandmother. But what I did see, even as a young kid, that they lost their power as the kids started to leave and create their own life, or they
Mm.
lost it. More important, they lost their purpose.
Yes.
So when I got to be, well, what I started Glorious Broads, it sounds odd, but I started it because I found an obituary in the paper. I mean, I've always been attracted to women and strong women, but I found this obituary, and her name was Clara Hancox. And she was a columnist for WWD, a fashion paper. And she found herself in her 80s. She moved to the country. She got a motorcycle. She came out as lesbian. She wrote her first book, self published, and blossomed. She was also really got in touch with her spiritual self. And I just thought, I could be this woman. I might be this woman. And it made me really look forward to next. I was never afraid of age. And I do thank my older sisters for that. My mother, I have to say, brought us up to be pretty girls. And we were, but at some point yeah, sure, we like being good, but all of my sisters like, fuck this. I want to be strong.
Yes.
And they were.
Yeah, and I think lots of women, especially in their 50s and 60s, can relate to that sense of purpose changing as if you have
Yes,
children that leave the nest and redefining yourself. And you talk a lot on your platform and in your community about that restart, that refresh, and that can
yes,
be done at any age, can't it? It doesn't have to kind of
yes.
end when you get to 70 or 80, which I think is refreshing.
Yeah, and I want to say none of it is easy. I had worked at ARP, and my story is there is that I always thought I could write, but I had a very successful career as an art director, creative director. I redid magazines. But when the publishing field went oof, I had to kind of think, okay, what else can I do? And I think that's what I would say to all of you. Think, what else would I like to do? Put a little money aside, I got to warn you of that. And I dove into writing. I wrote a book with a pal and did very well called Dumped. And then I started my blog, and then I started Glorious Broads after that. Worked as a columnist for a number of cool uh, publishing, I mean, digital online presences. And they were all, as I got older, they were all younger kids wanting to hear Bustle, TZR. They all wanted to hear
Yeah.
about what it's like. So I found my voice. But all I'm saying to all of you is it's not easy. It takes real resilience and it takes a community. If you have a community of like-minded women, it helps. I know
Yes.
I was fortunate through COVID when I was in the middle of this re, really refocusing myself on writing. I found this group of like-minded women all in the midst of it. And if I didn't have these women, I don't know that I'd have the strength.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because you mentioned the book. It's called, was it Dumped?
No.
A grown up guide to getting off your ass and over your ex, which I love, and I wish I'd had that when I got divorced in my 40s. So is that really, was that book, writing that book, was that the kind of start of you building your confidence
Yes.
and finding your voice?
My writing voice too. At that time, I was still working as a an art director, but my friend and I wrote it together because we both I hadn't been dumped since third grade, but I was royally dumped by my husband, and I didn't expect it. So she and I were just in shock, and we found ways to get our courage back. And with
Mm.
the courage came getting my voice back, or getting my voice, developing my voice as a writer. And it's been really rewarding as a result. So all I'm saying is I meet people who continuously redefine themselves or rework themselves in different careers. I have an 85-year-old bestie who still she doesn't need to make a living. I
Mhm.
still want and need to make a living. I'm working on a television show right now, which is a ball, but hard work. But my friend doesn't need to make a living, but she enjoys making a living. And she's working now on a jewelry line. And she had been a trust, she worked as a trust fundraiser for many years. It's just what
Yeah.
she enjoys doing.
I love that. And what that word courage, that really strikes me because I think that the women that you interview on the streets and on your blog, they have that courage inside them, don't they, to try new things and to speak their truth and to talk about what, from any subject, from sex to
Oh
whatever's
my
on their
God.
mind. It takes courage
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah, yeah. It started as a blog, but now I really call it a platform because we're in all social media. Now we're working on this television show. Now I'm going to work on a book next. I really, it's about trusting your instinct, and that does include, that woman looks like she has something to say. And I would say 90% of the time we get it right.
Yeah. So when you are interviewing women on the streets, is it friends of friends that have passed you on to somebody, or is it literally you going out on the streets and finding people that you find interesting?
Right. I would say come spring, if it ever turns spring here, we're out on the streets 90% of the time. And the most fun thing, just to share with you, because you don't live here, but I will share, there is a magic to Coney Island. We go to Coney Island and the kinds of women we find. Man, you don't find those New York accents till you go there. They are so, so fun. But now in the winter, I usually go to friends of friends, or I
Mm.
like just last week on Sunday, I went to a woman's concert called On the Verge, and every day I met three more amazing ladies. I have to make sure though that I don't do just artists. I have to watch myself for that I don't just do more artists and performers. That is what I'm attracted to. But
Yeah.
I love finding people who give back in some worthwhile way. And
Yeah.
there's plenty of them out there.
And what I'm so surprised by, and I don't know why I'm surprised, that how honest and open they are
Oh
when
my
it comes
God.
to talking about sex, because it's still
Yes,
something that people don't talk about enough. I'm in my 50s. I'm going through the vaginal dryness, loss of libido,
yes,
but equally I love sex, and I don't want to think that that's it for me. I want to hear stories of life after
yes,
postmenopause, which you and your ladies are doing in bucketfuls.
yes, yes, yes. And I also like that we show both aspects of it. Some of the women say, I don't have a libido. I'm not the least bit interested, and I find it freeing.
Mm,
I myself had vaginal dryness, as you said, and then I tried the hormonal therapy, HRT, it's called, and
Yeah.
I had a low dosage, and bing, after 3 years, 3 years of wanting to go off it, it all came back. And I'm very grateful for that. And now I just turned 73. It's amazing.
Yeah. But has it surprised you though, how much people have been so open to talk to you about sex when it comes to those sharing those personal stories? It surprised me at how open people have been because it's not a very British thing to do to talk about
Ah,
sex. Still, it drives me mad because it's something we should be talking about.
well, I think that people still, think it's a taboo, but I think maybe that's exactly why the women are saying, yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk
Yeah.
about this thing called libido. Let's talk about the realness and the not realness. Almost everyone wants to go there. It did surprise me in the beginning. And sometimes women who look like they wouldn't go there love to go there. You can also kind of get a feeling for who's not going to talk about it. And then there's a million other things to talk about. So that's not a problem.
And you are doing some groundbreaking work in terms of changing the narrative, which is so important. And that's why I guess things like the article, the feature in Cosmopolitan, Sex After 60 came
Uh,
about. How was that?
Oh, that was a ball. What I loved about this, there's a young woman who put that together. I believe her name, God, I forget her name right now, but her name starts with Stephanie. What a wonderful young lady. She was out to here pregnant, working all the time, but she cast this thing in such a wise way. All of the women were diverse in age, meaning they started at 50, and we went to, I think the oldest one was probably in her late 70s. All the races were diverse, but they were real ladies. They were not silver-haired models. And I'm not putting down silver-haired models,
Yeah.
but I do think it's very different when what the Polish model who talks about I'm invisible. I have no patience for that.
Yeah.
And none of that was in the room. All of these women owned their space and wanted to talk the talk. They were
Yeah.
great. It was a really fun and very surprising that Cosmo, of all people,
Yeah.
would have done this. As a matter of
Yeah.
fact, I just got a hold of them last week. I just wanted to know, having been in the business, I wanted to know, look, how did it do? And she wrote back, it was a viral hit. I couldn't get
Amazing.
numbers out of her, but she said it was everywhere. So that was great to hear.
And I know that you can't really talk too much about it, but this is also kind of leading down another path of making a TV program, isn't it? So can you tell us a little sneak bit about that?
Sure. I will tell you, it's going to be a docu-series. There's going to be 7 episodes. The women that we talk to are amazing. Very diverse group in every way. They range from 50s to late 80s, and we talk about sex. And we found this young host who's hilarious, a comedian, and she was honestly curious about what's next.
Mm.
And none of these women blush or hold back. Let's put it that way.
Brilliant. I can't wait to find out more about that. And so good luck with it all. You
Thank you.
mentioned that word just briefly, that word invisible. And it is something that particularly in social media, I hear it a lot of women saying that they feel invisible on the high street, in media and marketing. But do you think there is an element of it's a mindset
Oh, I
that
definitely do that. And I've been attacked about that, but I do feel it's a mindset. I had a wonderful woman on that I interviewed, and it's true that she was very beautiful, and it's true that she was very made up, but that was her mindset. We're an interview, and so she wanted to get all dolled up, but she talked about the freedom of not putting any makeup on, putting our and walking down the street and not being harassed and enjoying the invisibility of it. And when she wanted to be invisible, what she was talking about is not so much her looks, but owning her presence in the room.
Mm,
And I agree with her. I think you have to almost make an agreement with some source out there that I will be invisible, and I'm not buying it.
yeah,
There's definitely a truth to you're not getting the attention that you got on the streets, but I mean, this is all very personable, how you feel, very subjective. But as I mentioned before, I don't have a thing against Paulina, impossible last name, the model, but she's a very good writer. But
yeah.
don't give a shit if men don't harass me like they did all through my 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s. I'm just like, the moment I grew this silver hair, for me, it was freedom. It was
Yes.
just, I don't have to do that. If I want to put a pair of high heels, lipstick, and it comes back, that was my experience. Very different.
Yeah.
It's a different, genre, but for me, it was freedom.
Yeah. And it's interesting because they're both grey haired. So at what point did you decide to ditch the dye?
Well, honestly, it was a fortune, and I got tired of paying the fortune when I looked in the mirror and just said, "Oh, I may luck out like an older sister. I may get a little silverish and not just, be dull gray." And that's what happened. I also cut my hair off to see what would happen, so it wasn't that big of an issue. Again, I found it freeing.
Yeah, I did too. It's very liberating. But what I did find is my other people, peers, attitudes
Yes.
towards it. When I said that I was going to ditch the diet, I was like, "Gosh, you're gonna look much older. You're too long to let yourself go." So there is still this stigma attached to it,
Well,
which
you
we
are younger than me, so you must have heard it. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's that being put in a box though, isn't it? They
yes.
certainly the beauty industry like to put women in boxes, don't
Oh
they?
my
They're like,
God.
which I find really frustrating. So when it
Yes.
comes to the kind of anti-aging messages that are out there from the beauty industry and the media and advertising, what really gets you go? What are the things that you really like to have a good rant about?
Oh, that's very funny because I'm writing one right now to the Maybelline company. I don't like to waste my gas on things that, it's all over the ageist crap that's out there. I just want to live my happy life and affect as many women as I can on the
Yeah,
positive message. However, there's one out there right now called Erase, and
yeah.
it's by Maybelline. Did you see it?
Yes, yeah,
Mindy Kaling is in it,
yeah.
or I believe I'm saying her last name right. And she's known as a feminist. And some kid on the streets bumps into her apologizing. By the way, that never happens. And calls her a ma'am. I was like, so what? And she goes into this crazy thing about, are you calling me old? It's just, putting so much negative impact on old. And really, what's so bad about being old?
Yes. Yeah, I read an article, I think it was in InStyle magazine about I can't remember his name now, it's gone off the top of my head, menopause. But he quoted, he's a famous American that does a lot of work on longevity, and he quoted that the headline was something along the lines of aging was seen as a disease and it can be now treated like a disease. And
Yeah.
I understood that he was trying to say we all want to live a healthy, happy life and we want to live a long, healthy, happy life. But the fact that they had the word disease in the same title was just crazy.
It's crazy. It's just a very different mindset. I don't understand it. And I do think that the longevity craze that is out there. I mean, I'd like to live a long and healthy life, no doubt about it. But the focus on longevity comes from the older tech white boys. They're
Yeah,
they're leading this. And it too it brings an eye roll to me. So you
yeah.
make
So
room.
how, yeah, I mean, you're already reaching hundreds of thousands of people on social media, which is just incredible. But what are your plans to grow it even bigger so that you can really reach women globally?
Well, we intend to start having conferences, but
Mm.
conferences that will be fun, you know. We have an idea to have a kind of rotating dating table where young people, young mentors meet older mentors, and you can help each other out, but done in a fun dating way. And we might have a spa weekend, but the spa weekend might involve, learning how to motorcycle.
Yes.
Different ways that have a a rawness to it and not just, getting your nails done.
Yeah.
Um, and then, we have the television show. A podcast seems like a natural. A book seems like a natural. And I love the book to not just be a series of photos of women, but the idea is to have full quotes and funny stories, perhaps about sex, but just always, always, always about humor. You don't have
Yeah.
humor, and your older life is not going to be funny.
Yeah.
Humor and health.
What would you go back and tell you kind of yourself in your 40s? So what do you wish you'd known then that you know now?
Oh, wow, funny because I don't usually think about it. I would definitely say not put the energy into my love life. Even though I was successful in my 40s, I put so much energy into my love life, which was very, very active. And it usually involved helping some artist become themselves, and I should have put it all into me.
Yes. Yeah, which you are
I
doing now.
Yes, 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 yes. And I don't mean all into me. I have beautiful nephews I love. It's not into a person that doesn't know how to love, but it's just wasting my gas. And I
Yeah.
did a lot of that.
Yeah. And doing things that bring you joy and not having to fit in and worry about anybody else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then a lot of that happened, but it made for an active love life.
Yeah, sounds exciting. So, what does bring you joy on a daily basis now? What are the kind of things that you really love to do that you make sure you've got time for in your day?
Good question. I love to work out. I mean, I see my partner, I hate that word, but I'm not going to call him boyfriend, a couple of times a week. He lives on this side of town. I live on this side. He's a musician and he's reminded me of the importance of jazz in my life, and that's been fun. But I would say I'm a very ritualistic person. I like to work out. I like to meet my partner and we work on new scenes or whatever we're working on. And I learned to cook during COVID. And that brings me joy. I never thought I would say that. So
There's hope for me because I'm a terrible cook and I don't enjoy it. So I'm hoping that it might rub off.
but very simple meals, but it's suddenly like, oh, this can be made out of this. And also my partner is Greek. That
Oh,
has really, so everything is a joy and oh, meaning in the kitchen.
yeah.
So I really have to say, I'm a kind of a simple girl. So bringing the joy into those simple activities
Well,
and going to theater.
yes, yeah, I do. I love that too. And you've got some great, you're so lucky to have Broadway, aren't you? Amazing.
Yes, yes, yes. I enjoy New York life. I definitely do.
Yeah. Do you see yourself kind of touring and coming to London and doing
I
events
would love
there?
to. I would love to. Yes, we have to get to that point where I don't even know. I mean, me and my partner's tech
Mm,
skills are minimal. But I would love to know who are we reaching.
yes.
I would love to get it uh to do a tour. That would
Yeah.
be really fun. That would probably be next year.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I will definitely be there, Mary Jane. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for creating such an amazing platform that
Yeah, you're very welcome.
it fills my feed with joy. And I love,
Ah,
I saw the interview you had with the lady that was 101, and I just thought, wow, if that's I could have my whole life again, filled with lots of different
yes,
opportunities.
isn't that nice to know? Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that 101-year-old was dancing up until last summer.
yeah, which is
How
just
about that?
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
this summer she's like, I've had it. But yeah, an incredible inspiration.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing
Oh,
all of that with me. So, my last two questions that I ask all my guests: if you were to pay yourself a compliment, what would it be?
resilience. I am resilient, motherfucker.
We could all do with more of that. And my last question: liberty, free to be. What does that mean to you?
Ah, free to be. I would say free to be the powerful woman I want to be. Really the power of being a woman, and there's more to do.
I can't wait to see what more comes. So, thank you so much for inspiring us all, and keep
Yes.
doing the
Well, I love
amazing
what you're
work.
doing. I'm glad when you reached out. I'm not saying yes to too many, but I was very interested.
Thank you so much, Mary Jane, for your time again, and such a fabulous conversation. And I look forward to following your journey. And don't forget to go and check Mary Jane and the Glorious Broads out on TikTok and Instagram because they're doing some amazing work on just showing us all that there's so much more to life after 40. Thank you, Mary Jane.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. So many points to think about after that conversation. Mary Jane has left me feeling not only inspired, but actually really thinking about the future and how lucky we are if we could stay healthy and we can stay active enough to enjoy the next chapter. Because I'm 53, and she's just been interviewing a lady in her hundreds who's just stopped dancing. So that means that I've got all this life ahead of me, and what do I want to do with it? So I hope that has inspired you and encouraged you to not fear aging, because it's got a lot to offer, and women over the age of 40, 50, 60, 70 have got so much more to offer. And it's time that we had our voices heard. And like Mary Jane said, she didn't really find her voice until her 60s, and now she is using it very wisely. What else can I think about all this conversation? What struck me is that sense of community. I think it's so important that we have like-minded women that we can bounce ideas off, that we can gain support from, that we can share what's going on, and have that kind of bond, because I think it's really important. And often that changes later in life. Our friendship views change as we change and grow. So don't be scared of that. Embrace it and seek out like-minded people, because that sense of community is really important, which is what I love about my Liberty Lifestyle Hub Facebook group. If you're not already in there, come over. We are a free group. We've got 350 women in there now, and we are a really supportive group, just sharing different things of what's going on in our life, how we're feeling, celebrating our wins and encouraging one another. So if you haven't already, come over for that sense of community and be part of the Liberty Lifestyle Hub. I also thought it was really interesting that she was talking about, who do you want to be when you grow up? I'm 53 and I still think I'm figuring it out. But I definitely want to be like the women that Mary Jane has the pleasure of interviewing on Glorious Broads. And, what makes a glorious broad is different for every one of us, and we're all unique. So let's celebrate that. So that has left me really feeling uplifted and looking forward to the future. We have nothing to fear. And like Mary Jane said, a million broads out there in the world doing glorious things. So let's all be one of those. Looking forward to it. I'll be back in a fortnight. But in the meantime, don't forget to share the podcast with your friends. Go and like and subscribe, because the more we get subscriptions, the more people that share this podcast, the more women we can reach with these really important stories to inspire and encourage one another, because there is nothing to fear about aging. Keep being fabulous. See you in a fortnight.